Hello and welcome to episode 27 of Celebrity Customer Experience Riffs with me, Jill Raff, where we share stories of everything from the perspective of CX, customer experience, because I think that how we treat our customers is really important, but that begins from the inside out, from the employee experience to the customer experience, because I am truly obsessed with employee experience creating outstanding customer experience. I believe that every customer deserves the same pampering treatment of a celebrity. And it begins from the inside, which is why my proprietary process is called the Inside Out Framework from EX to CX. Because I guarantee you, without a doubt, outstanding employee experience will produce stellar customer experience. Thank you for joining me today. And I want to remind everyone, if you're listening live, please join in the conversation. Put in your comments. I can highlight them on the screen and we can actually have a conversation, whether you're on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube. Thank you for watching. If you're watching the replay, perfect. Same thing. Put in your comments so they won't be shown live, but I will respond to them. Tag me in your replies. So I love having that conversation, which is really what it's about. So I want to start by sharing with you a really cool image that to me embodies what I'm doing now, and actually will be a bit of an emotional episode for me today. This is a tribute to my father. So my parents and grandparents, pictured here. First, McDonald's, my grandfather and father are pictured here, but my parents and grandparents opened their first McDonald's franchise in what I thought was store number 150. But upon more recent research, it seems that actually the store was closer to about store number 100, opened in Ocala, Florida in 1959, when McDonald's was the gold standard of the restaurant industry. Sadly, with so many brands we now experience, we've lost the connections created from having the owners and the executive management hands-on in there with their employees, doing whatever it is to make sure that they take care of their employees and their customers. Due to my upbringing in McDonald's family and across careers, across industries, from fashion to restaurants to real estate, spanning 7 countries, that golden thread, no pun intended, but that golden thread throughout, which is something that I learned as a very young child from Ray Kroc's motto of QSC&V: quality, service, cleanliness, and value. So, of course, I now teach the ABCs of QS&V. This is the foundation, along with other work that I've done, which is why I inherently understand extraordinary customer experience, because it's truly in my DNA. So today will be a tribute to the wisdom of my dad, Marshall Raff, and Ray Kroc, founder of McDonald's, because today is October 8th, just 3 days away from October 11th, which will mark 26 years since my sweet dad passed away and left us at an early age of 65. 26 years, it feels like a lifetime, and actually is a lifetime for my teenage son and daughter who never got to meet their Grandpa Marshall. I'm so glad that I have a son who's actually named after him, so I get to say his name and hear his name constantly. And my dad, he would look at my mom and my sisters and I with such love that he had tears in his eyes. Now, as I think of my deep love and my incredible gratitude for him, tears come to my eyes. But while we may have lost him physically 26 years ago, all that he taught and modeled was not lost on me. What I didn't know then was how much that I learned from my dad's interactions, not transaction. What I learned from my dad's interactions, from everyone, from his customers to his managers, his field reps, to the maintenance crew. He communicated his genuine care, not only through the pride of having clean, well-run stores, but also because it was how he took care of them. He created that trust and that confidence. I'm gonna just switch here so you can see another picture of my dad during that time. Hopefully that's coming up now, managing all the different technology. So what I didn't know then was that I'd have my mom and dad's 35-year McDonald's Owner Operator Award sitting at the entrance to my front desk to inspire me daily and remind me of the hard work of being an early franchise owner. They were one of the first to receive this 35-year award because they were in the business 4 years into the corporation's establishment. And my dad used to say he has ketchup running in his veins, and I think he really did, because he truly lived the values of developing the company that was at the time an unknown risk, selling 15-cent burgers. If you can see on that menu, actually, I think it says 10 cents at that time. It was so early. I think it says 10 cents and 15 cents. Yeah, a hamburger was 10 cents and a cheeseburger was 15 cents. Wow. He proudly started and was on the executive member of the Ronald McDonald House in Gainesville, Florida, where some of their stores were, because it was a teaching hospital nearby. And that was something that my dad held near and dear to his heart. What he didn't know then was that he would leave us far too early. And his passing, in his passing, the money that was raised by all the people who loved and adored him, who gave in his honor, actually established a kitchen named after him at the Ronald McDonald House, and still is there in Gainesville, Florida. So I want to share with you today, in his sweet memory, not only wise advice that I learned from him, but also great memories that early employees shared with me in recent interviews about their experiences and their memories of what it was like to work with my dad. Also, some wisdom from Ray Kroc, which of course overlapped. It would be impossible to talk about some of the wisdom and the comments that happened and came from my dad without also sharing some of the philosophies from Ray Kroc, because they went hand in hand. And that alignment's really important if you think about it in your business. So for my dad, building McDonald's in various markets was filled with meaning and purpose. So Paul Kirby was a writer and published an article in the Gainesville Sun newspaper where he wrote, after 3 decades, Marshall Raff still bubbles with enthusiasm when discussing the company that the company he has brought him happiness and financial success. I don't feel it's a job. A job is like something I got to get up and go to. I have to go to work, he says. My dad, that is. This is quotes from the article. I consider it a career or a profession, and something that I don't want to do. I'm sorry, and something that I want to do and enjoy doing, even when I didn't have money and I wasn't making money. It goes on to recount how my dad worked 18-hour days, 7 days a week in establishing those early businesses. Many times I would sleep right at McDonald's on the potato sacks because I was too tired to go home, he said. Now, these were the days that McDonald's cut their own fresh French fries. Many of you may not know that. I had this wonderful memory of sitting on my knees because I was still really little, and on the red and white tile benches that was a part of the original store. If any of you saw the movie Founder, you would see that original store was exactly what we had. And I would sit on those red and white tile benches, and I would look through the window, and I would see the place right on the edge there where they would, put the potato in and push it down, and you see the French fries come shooting out. It was such excitement for me as a little kid. And the article goes on to say, Raff says he never questioned his sanity. It was all very exciting, Dad said. The fact is that it is my own business. And this was a new concept. Ray Kroc was known to say, if you work just for money, you'll never make it. But if you love what you're doing and you always put your customer first, success will be yours. This is exactly what my dad did and how he ran his stores. The article goes on to say, Raff now works about 40 hours a week, but ask him what he likes best about his job, and he cites dealing with his crew people, managers, and customers. My dad said, we're not in the hamburger business. We're really in the people business. And I think this is truly what my dad was best known for. Like, everyone knew he was the owner of McDonald's. He was very active from the McDonald's owner standpoint within the community and served on multiple boards across the community, banks and local organizations. From the perspective of being a McDonald's owner, he was so proud of that. But what he was most known for was his incredible people skills and how he would look you in the eyes when he spoke to you. He would call you by name. He would ask about your family by name. He had this warm charisma, and it was felt by anyone who was around him. And he made you feel like you were the most important person in the room. I've often argued the position of this first establishing your company's core values and vision and mission. And from that, when you implement it throughout every step of your business, throughout every touch point and all of your training, including ongoing training, which is important, not just your onboarding, then you can be confident that your brand, you can be confident about your brand, and you don't have to worry about your competitor. Ironically, I read in this article dated July 31st, 1989, that my dad wasn't concerned at all about his other competitors and what they were doing. He quotes, "The best competitor you have, or the worst competitor you have, is yourself. And if you concern yourself about what you know you have to, and if you concern yourself about doing what you know you have to do best all the time, you don't have to worry about anyone else." So I botched that. I'm going to read from it and say that again. My dad said, the best competitor you have, or the worst competitor you have, is yourself. And if you concern yourself about doing what you know you have to do best at all time, you don't have to worry about anybody else. I can't alter what they do. I can only change what I do. That is some wise words that still ring true today, no matter what we are doing in business or in our personal lives. Now, I don't want to let this go too long because there's so much I want to say, but God knows I could go on and on about all the wisdom that I've gained and that I've learned from him from growing up in the McDonald's family and all the lessons I've learned, whether directly or indirectly, from my dad. But I do want to at least touch on some few insights that I gleaned from past employees, from their words, not just from my words. To hear from them about what they've experienced and what their memories are. And so I had these interviews with them, and I specifically wanted to hear from their experience of working with my dad in their stores. So I promise in another episode, maybe in honor of my dad's birthday in December, we'll go into that more deeply. But for today, I just want to cover some feedback and insights from others of his wisdom. So for right now, I just want to share with you a few of the many, many fantastic insights that John Mims shared with us. He began with my dad as young as 17 years old, a 17-year-old teenager, as a crew member, and worked his way up to become a unit supervisor. And I've just checked the comments, and there I see John's joining us. John, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. John says Ronald McDonald House. Yeah, he was involved with the Ronald McDonald House. My dad really encouraged his employees to also take part and be a part of this wonderful cause that continues that continues until today to be such a stronghold for families who are going through difficulties with their loved ones in the hospitals. John, thank you so much for joining today. And please continue to share, comments and insights as I now start to impart some of the wisdom that you shared with me. And I so appreciate that. So I asked John, what were some of the top opportunities and skills you learned when working for my dad? And he replied, amongst other things, people skills. Now, this is lacking so much in today's businesses. People, meaning your employees and your customers, being treated like a transaction. And I mentioned early on, that it was important for my dad to have these interactions with people. That's why today, and little did I know, I created my business and my consultancy around EX to CX before I had these interviews and before I knew these things and before I created my tagline of transforming transactions into interactions, for a business to transform those transactions. And so this was something that I learned that John actually learned early on in those people skills. And I love that. When I asked John, what was your goal in working there? Like, were you just looking for a job, job type job, for the income, or were career opportunities presented? And his response to me said just like countless, said so much. It was gold, because it talked about the character and the values and the curiosity of an owner. He said, your dad asked me, John, what do you want out of life? He learned that I was a teacher at heart, and your dad gave me the opportunity to teach and train. John told me of how dad sent him to Chicago to Hamburger University in Oak Brook, and John was taken by the gold multi-mixer sculpture that was on Ray Kroc's desk. And one of the things that when he saw Ray Kroc's desk, he was so impressed by that it was this open concept, this message of openness and availability. Now imagine that the founder of McDonald's had an open concept of his office. It wasn't sealed off and closed up. It wasn't like, don't come in and talk to me. It was open. So I want to encourage business owners who are hearing this today to take that as a model from Ray Kroc, to be available. Let your people know that you are there, that you are interested and want to hear from them. You want to create that conversation. In doing so, you're going to create the bond. You're going to create a sense of trust and ownership and pride. And oh my gosh, the benefits are boundless. So think about that. John went on to say that the stores that he worked in had low turnover. He said specifically, we felt vested in the ownership of the business. Now, isn't that what all owners want from their employees? But you have to create that for them. John went on to say, we all stayed with him, and I've never seen commitment like that anywhere else. There's the retention piece that all owners want, the retention piece that otherwise, if it's a churning through the door, will cost you on so many levels. Dad meant what he said. Your dad meant what he said, and you could trust his word. He had your back. So we had his back. So again, my gosh, that says so much. John said that he learned his values from my dad and working at McDonald's. He said, your dad took care of me and my family. He was different. He cared. He really, really cared. I could talk to him about everything. He was as close as my own dad. John said, your dad trusted me a lot, and he didn't micromanage. Oh my gosh, so much in there. I could do an entire episode on each one of those pieces, right? Like, imagine what went into developing those relationships, that feeling of trust. Thank you, John, for sharing. Your dad made us feel like we were the owner. Okay, I could just end this episode right now, because that says everything. The ownership. My dad made everyone feel like they were the owner. That is the key, to have pride engagement, productivity from your people. Thank you so much. And my mom is listening in. I told her I was doing this today as a tribute to Dad and to Ray Kroc. And she just piped in and said he did care. He did. And wow, just so powerful. John went on to say that every Wednesday he would ask, John, tell me what we need to do. What do I need to do? What do you need to be successful? He would ask, what can I do to make it better? That is incredible. An owner who wants to know, how do I make it better for you? And we all understand that the result of that question is, if we're making it better for the employees, you're actually making it better for your own business. So another wise, I think, message and point that John shared with me is that he said, my dad wisely advised, make a decision and stick with it. If it's wrong, it's okay. Change it next time. Make a decision and stick with it. If it's wrong, change it next time. And the last wisdom from John for today is that my dad told him, I'm going to teach you everything I know so you can succeed. Just mic drop. I mean, seriously, don't we all want to be working for someone who has their vested interest in us succeeding, not just looking after their own business? That honestly, it brings tears to my eyes. It just makes me so proud, and it's so incredible, and there's so much to be learned from. John's told me that his wife said to him that even until today, when I talk about Mr. Raff, there's a smile on my face. That really warms my heart, because there's certainly a smile on my face. As you can see probably right now, my cheeks are hurting, but really amazing. And I'll share with you another picture here. Here is my dad. I don't recall what year. I'd have to go back and look, and I couldn't find that. But you can get some sort of idea. I think it was the early 70s, because if you'll see, it still is the original McDonald's. It still has, you can see the logo in the bottom left corner, that really old original McDonald's logo on the front of the store, the single arch. And look, 23 billion sold. Try our new Sundays. So Sundays was new for them. Very cool. So enjoy that photo while I continue to share other wisdom from other people who worked for my dad and mom, who was willing to share with me. So Sylvia Luckerson described her time of working for my dad, saying, I really enjoyed it. I always liked working with a family. So this speaks volumes to the culture that my dad was able to create. And really what John just said, right? Like, it was a family, everybody shared. And more wisdom, and here we go from John. I'm going to show that. He earned respect from others. He earned, that's the key word in that sentence. We don't just give trust, and we don't just give respect. It's something that you earn through how you treat people, how you speak to people. And that really warms my heart. Thank you so much for saying that, John. And again, I think even Sylvia's comment ties into that. There was a family, there was a sense of trust, there was a sense of belonging, there was a sense of respect that happened amongst everybody on the floor. And you, John, were so much a part of and responsible. You earned the respect of the people. For the stores to have been so successful, the stores that you managed and that you supervised happened because of your ability to have that respect and to create that trust with everyone there. And this is just touched on one other thing I want to bring up. As a part of my training, I teach owners and businesses to create leaders on every level. And so, of course, my dad with many stores would do the run and try to be in there. When he came to visit, he would get in the mix with everybody. But you're only one person, right? You can't be everywhere. And in order for him to do that, he had to create leaders at multiple levels so that he could be doing what he needed in the moment to keep the business growing. And he created leadership like John and like Lori, who I'm going to talk about in a minute. And then in doing so, John represented that leadership to his team, like Sylvia, who talked about how much that meant to her. So create leadership at every level of your business, and you will see how that is also a key to success. That is definitely a part of the secret ingredient, one of the secret sauce ingredients. So lastly, I want to share with you some wisdom that came from Lori Armstrong. Lori Armstrong also worked her way up and was a manager, and she started out in her answers to my questions in my interview saying, first, let me say this. It was a pleasure working for your dad. I almost didn't need to hear anymore, because how many people 26 years later, after your passing, could say something like that? They'd still have the sharp memories and stories that I would get from people that I hear and that I refer back to is just enough. I mean, it's really quite remarkable. But what she said was, when your dad came in the stores, he'd always jump in and help. Now, there's the teaching by example, the modeling by behavior that you want in order for your business to grow. My dad didn't believe in the hierarchy in terms of attitude. Of course, there was hierarchy in terms of position and amount of responsibility, but he didn't feel there was hierarchy in terms of how he viewed you. And everybody was a part of this goal, this team. Everyone worked towards the same goals. And I think John, I was just going to say, thank you. John says, I second that. I was going to say, I think John would probably agree that that is why they were so successful, because they were able to all look towards that end of the road focus, that point of what is our goal? What is our mutual goal? And treating everyone with respect, treating everyone the same. And that makes me so proud. We learned, she also said that we learned to always hold doors open for people. Again, that's the kindness piece. If you've heard me speak in the past about my shark principle, if not, you can go back and listen, or I'll review it again another time. I think I've spoken about it in other people's podcasts that I've been interviewed on. So I don't think I've done an episode here. So we will do that. But I talk about the SHARK is an acronym to protect your employee experience and your customer experience. And when you do that, the K in the SHARK is kindness. And just a simple, small thing of holding the door open for people shows that kindness. And I love that. John just said he loved working fries. That is so funny. And talk about perfect timing, John, because Lori also wrote that when your dad came to the store, he loved to jump in and he would always love to work on the fry station. I love it. That is so funny. And it was, interestingly, until this moment, as I'm just saying this, I'm realizing that I always wanted to work on the fries, and I never really thought about why. Maybe it's because I witnessed my dad doing that, modeling that, and I wanted to emulate it. I never thought about that before because I didn't realize that that was something that my dad loved to do. But he wouldn't let me do that until I was a teenager, till I was much older, because he was worried about me burning myself on the hot oil, etc. So that's great. Thank you. And it's perfect timing, because it is something that Lori mentioned that she remembered as well. And one of the other things that Lori said is that after all of these years, I'm still working for McDonald's. And I feel your dad was the greatest owner operator, and that he ran his stores like Ray Kroc would have wanted them to be run. And I quote that exactly. Ray, she said, he ran his stores like Ray Kroc would have wanted them to be run. He held all the stores to the same standards. And that is why I am, I'll just share right now, I am super, super stoked that I am going to be speaking at the Georgia McDonald's rally, the general manager's rally for 5 markets in Georgia including the Columbus, Georgia market where I grew up and where my parents established and actually created those McDonald's. So it really is emotional for me because it's coming full circle, and really exciting because I do know I have experienced those McDonald's the way Ray Kroc envisioned them, the way Ray Kroc outlined the values. And I saw that through experience. I lived that. And that's something that I'm really excited about, helping McDonald's kind of shift back to. It's a part of who they are, but to recognize again their people asset, their human capital, and how important that is. Another nugget from John, thank you. Golden nugget, I should say, a golden McNugget, right? They were all AAA stores. Wow, thank you, John, for saying that. And for what people don't know, of course, they would have ratings, and they would come in and be reviewed by field officers and inspections, and they would give a rating. And the AAA was the highest. And John shares that all the stores were AAA stores. John worked in the Gainesville, Ocala market. Thank you for that, John. I really appreciate it. So Lori went on to say that he taught me that customers always come first, and the better we serve them and made them happy, the more they would come back. Now, wow, here is the exact concept of employee experience to customer experience, which I didn't realize that I learned from my dad in the early years. But in these interviews, I realize now how much I gleaned and I absorbed naturally. And this is why it's also intuitive to me. It's in my DNA. Your employees are without a doubt your greatest company asset. So I've said a lot. If you're going to unpack that, hopefully please go back and watch the replays. Thank you, John, for all your insights and your addition to this. It really is very meaningful, because I would love to interview you, and we will have a direct interview here too. Right now, I'm just repeating a lot of what you told me, but it really stands as this tribute today to my dad and the kind of leader he was, and the wisdom from Ray Kroc and from my dad, Marshall Raff. And so now that I've shared a bit of that insight as to why I am truly obsessed with employee experience, creating customer experience, you see that I've witnessed it, I've experienced it, absorbed it all around me, heard about it at home. I guarantee you, without a doubt, outstanding employee experience will produce stellar customer experience. So if you agree and you want to place value on your human capital, inquire about my Confident Customers Through Customer Experience program, where participants not only get personal one-on-one calls with me to discuss what your unique business's most pressing challenges and bottlenecks are, but also learn how to create great thought-provoking ideas and questions and challenges for your own people. I'm just going to go here and put on, I always forget to do this. There we go. Here's a link. So in addition to that, so you'll really get to work hard and learn more about the great thought-provoking applicable content through video, through additional resources, a private mastermind group, and of course your own action guides, which is what sets you up to create your plans and your systems, to review what you have in place or create what you don't have in place, to stand out in your employee experience so they will ensure the great and extraordinary customer experience for your paying customers. Because let's face it, you've heard me say before, for the owners, your first customer is your employee. Now, this Confident Customers Through Customer Experience is something that applies at any point in time, but certainly during this pandemic, there was an extra module in there called Beyond the CDC. And I'm super excited about this program because it's hybrid. It's not just, I've spent thousands of dollars on do-it-yourself programs, which I'm done with. And it's a hybrid because we do have one-on-one conversations. And then you get to dive in and do your work. And you've kind of got all this asynchronous learning, so you can do that at your own speed, but then available through this mastermind Facebook, a private group, and of course a graduation call at the end to look at your progress, your momentum, and everything that you're doing. So the JillRaffGroup.thinkific.com is the link to learn more about it. It's on the up on the screen right now. And please, if there's a topic that you'd like to learn about, you'd like to hear about in the future that we want to discuss, or someone you'd like me to bring on to interview as a guest, please, leave a comment and let me know, and I would be happy to do that, because I want to create those conversations, that communication back and forth, because I think that's where it's most fun. And I thank you so much, John, for all that you've given me, and the joy of just hearing the things about my dad that so rang true, that, I miss him so much 26 years later. Still, it's crazy. And when I hear these things, it just validates the work that I'm doing now, that I'm continuing his legacy and the impact that I know he's had, not just on me and my family, but on so many people that continue to learn and grow and do from all that he modeled for them. Thank you, John. It's really, I really appreciate you. So thank you for joining me today. And I look forward to another episode of Celebrity Customer Experience. I was just thinking out in my mind next week what you can expect. Yes, next week I have an interview with Coach Steve Daly about keys to success and reinvention right now. So please join next week, same time, Thursday, 12 o'clock noon Central Time. And I look forward to speaking with him on that. Should be fun and interesting. And in the meantime, please feel free to always reach out to me. You can find me. Here is my contact information, Jill@JillRaff.com directly. And Raff, of course, is spelled R like Robert, A-double-F like Frank. I'm sorry, A-double-F like French fry, I should say. And same, my website, JillRaff.com. Or reach out to me directly. I really appreciate it. And it's been great sharing my dad with you today. And thank you again for joining. Have a great day.